thank you to all of you for everything that you're doing. So I'm going to invite Tony Davis up. It was important to us at this conference for you to see the faces behind the Peer Network Steering Committee. These are those individuals, those adopters who are really helping to shape where we go and what we do. Tony is the executive director and president for Green Hill. Those are the greenhouse homes in West Orange, New Jersey. And she is going to introduce our new speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we should all just stretch. So stand up and just take a stretch, because it felt really good walking for a minute. Okay, so while you're stretching, I'm going to talk. I am Tony Davis. I'm the president of Green Hill, New Jersey. We have 4 greenhouse homes that we opened in 2011. I myself have been at the community for over 27 years. I am 3rd generation in my building of family, and my daughter is 4th, so we have a long history with this community. I have to say the high point of my career has been opening the greenhouse homes, as I'm sure it is for a lot of you. My passion and dedication to this model has led me to become a member of the Peer Network Steering Committee. The committee gives us a forum where we can work together, inspired by the same goal, to sustain this wonderful model and to protect the brand that we have all invested so much in. I've been asked to introduce our next speaker. She has been involved in long-term care since 1973. I have a long list of accomplishments for her, but she told me to keep it small. She served as vice president of the Eden Alternative Board. She has been an Eden Alternative educator and mentor. She works with the Greenhouse Project on model integrity as a consultant, so please welcome Sandy Ransom.
I'm looking for the magic button to, oh, right here. Thank you. First thing I want to say, and you've heard it many times today, but I don't think it can be said often enough, and that is thank you for your bravery, for your vision, and for everything you do with the love in your heart for the elders and the people who work in our greenhouses every single day. So what we're going to talk today about is model integrity. So what does that mean exactly? We're going to talk about the essential practices that go into defining model integrity, and we're going to talk about the processes that were used to develop the model integrity tool that you will all be seeing in the near future. And we're going to talk a little bit about a pilot study that we did, a very small pilot study on how we use the tool and what we found when we used it. So before I talk about why we have model integrity, what exactly does that mean? A model integrity system for the Greenhouse Project is a system that we are using to document what is happening in your communities, to document what is happening relative to the core values and the essential practices of those values. And it's not just for the Greenhouse Project, but it's also for all of you and for your growth within your communities. It's a tool to quantify key outcomes for your own use and for national comparison, and it's an opportunity, and to me this is the most important part, it's an opportunity for you to bring your team together as you work on this documentation and to celebrate the uniqueness of your communities as you share your story with others. And you'll see a little bit about where this sharing piece comes in as we move forward. I promise I'm going to get you out on time, so I'm not going to go through every single item here. We're just going to touch on the high points about the why of the model integrity and then get into actually how it came to be. So why do we want a model integrity process? We want to protect your investment. This is what we've heard from the Greenhouse Project team and from the people who are on the Peer Network Committee and the Steering Committee, people that have been on this path for a very long time. Protect your financial investment and your social investment. To develop learning collaboratives so all of the communities can share with each other what is going on within your homes. Share some of the good stuff and share some of the stuff where there's a little opportunity for growth. Data and benchmarking. Data and benchmarking tells us where we are. You just heard some wonderful information, and this will help generate more, help us get better, and help us to continue to evolve and grow. If you look at Greenhouse today and look at what it looked like 10 years ago, it's changed a little along the way. And brand integrity, to protect that brand. The Greenhouse brand is different. It's not just any small home. I'm preaching to the choir. I don't need to really elaborate on that. And then support for adopters, support for the peers, from your peers, with your peers, and then within the Greenhouse Project team. So you all know this. I don't even have to say that. So what are the essential practices within each of those? Core values. I believe that this was gone over earlier, and this is also nothing new to you. Many of the essential practices are inherent within the physical design, and then others will be documented on the measurement tool that we will share in a moment. I'm thinking as I'm going along here to see what we can kind of skip over. If you think about the essential practices that define real home, we have the essential practice defined, and then we also want to know what makes that practice important. And there are about 10 to 15 essential practices that have been defined for each core value. And I want to just read one to show you a little example of how this is going to be explained in the measurement tool when you receive it. So one of the essential practices for real home is that institutional cues are eliminated. And I know I've heard in several presentations over the past 2 days the term institutional creep, which everyone knows as the dragon. And why is this practice important? Institutional creep is possible in a greenhouse home given the experience of many of the people who work there who have previously worked in an institutional model. The presence of institutional creep, however minor it might appear, undermines the well-being, especially the people that live there, but also the people that work there. So that's just an example that we give for each essential practice on why it is important. I bet you can't even see this at the back of the room, can you? Essential practices for empowered staff. Again, I think the key here is a self-managed work team and the many elements that go into making that happen. The education, the training, the Shabazim relationship is a coaching relationship with the guide and with others, a partnership with the clinical support team. Talks about the role of the SAGE. And then I'm going to share with you an example of why one of these essential practices of empowered staff is important, and that is the essential practice formal leaders serve as champions for the greenhouse model and are vigilant in recognizing institutional creep. Oh, there's that institutional creep again. There are many reasons why this is important. It's difficult to sustain the model without their support, and I think this might reflect back to Eden Principle 10, wise leadership. It takes a village to make it happen. Without leadership, integrating and modeling the role and values and principles by staff may start to erode, and it is needed to live the model. Vigilance in recognizing creep and doing something to eliminate it are two different things. Here again, we're talking about relationships and skills, person-centered. Team meetings, many of the elements that you are all very familiar with as you work in your communities. Meaningful life essential practices. Elder-centered autonomy. All of the domains of well-being that have been defined by the Eden Alternative. And as an example of just one of these, because I'm not going to read them all to you, elders have direct involvement in their own care plans. Elders remain in charge of their own lives, enabling a dignified and autonomous life. Now, this is why it's important. Involvement of the elder assures a more individual and a meaningful plan of care, and the roles of the Shabazim and self-managed work teams are reinforced through their involvement in the care planning process. All right, so we just blew through that. Now we're going to talk about the actual development of the model integrity system. So this started in March of 2013, so you may have heard mention of this if you were at the conference last year. And there's a peer network model integrity committee that meets about every other month, sometimes more frequently based on the needs of this process. And there are 14 leaders from organizations that have greenhouse homes. So could the people who are here that are on that peer network committee just raise your hand so people can kind of, I know that many of you are, put your hands up. Okay, thank you. And this group of individuals, about a year and a half ago, came up with these goals: to develop a credible, efficient, and effective system to monitor, assist, and promote excellence among greenhouse model adopters. And the second goal was to develop this system in a set of standards that in content and application become the gold standard in benchmarking superior performance in long-term care. And a couple of means of doing that: a peer review and certification program, brand integrity, which is a part of the whole model integrity process, interfacing with the Thrive research, which you heard 3 of 10 researchers just give some of their results. So this will all be interfaced and working together as we move forward. And then those standards of excellence, incorporating the greenhouse values and essential practices. So this began actually before the Model Integrity Committee with the Greenhouse Project team and Dr. Bill Thomas. The essential practice were originally established by the Greenhouse Project team and Dr. Bill Thomas, and then it was further developed by the Peer Network Model Integrity Committee. And the practices were defined for each core value, and we just barely touched on a few of those, and the relevance for each practice described. And then measurements were developed for each of those practices. So as we're looking at information that you will be sharing, how do we measure if there's any institutional creep? How do we measure if there's an effective self-managed work team? So those are some of the questions that have been grappled with over the past year and a half. So in June of this year, there were questionnaires that were sent to all organizations that had greenhouse homes. There were quantitative and qualitative elements of those questionnaires, and many of you got them and completed them, and they were really long. And I really appreciate, yes, I really appreciate the work that you did. There was a reason for that. That tool, it was 15 pages or so, but all of the work that you put into that went to inform the development of the model integrity measurement tool, which is I think, going to look a lot more user-friendly when you actually see it. So we received the questionnaires. About 20 communities returned those questionnaires. We evaluated all of the responses of all of those questions, And then we kind of revised them and eliminated some redundancies, and there were some questions I think that were kind of confusing, so we clarified those. And then we developed what we're calling I really don't like the name of this. It really sounds pretty stuffy, so if somebody has a creative name, I'd love to hear it. But right now, it's the Model Integrity System Measurement Tool. And it's a means, as I said earlier, for you to document your essential practices, and it's in the format of a checklist. I'm going to give you some examples of what it looks like. It's a series of checklists, yes or no, very simple. Anecdotal information and outcome measures. With the anecdotal information, it comes in the form of family and elder and staff testimonials, just brief words, a couple of sentences from the words and the hearts of the people that are in your communities. And they're really powerful when I read them. So we took the Model Integrity Measurement Tool and sent it to 4 very brave individuals who agreed to pilot it. And I will share the names of those communities shortly. I analyzed those results and then reconvened and discussed with the people who actually did this work in their communities, and then have revised the tool and will be sharing it with you within the next few months. So okay, the actual measure, I have all these notes and I've just gotten my pages all out of order, so now I can't find them. So using the model integrity measurement process, the tool itself is divided into 2 parts. There's one section that is model integrity overview and definitions. It explains exactly what the process is, what we hope to get from it, and what all of those really detailed definitions are of each of the practices and why they're important and exactly how they're going to be measured. Then section 2 is the part that you complete and you send back to the greenhouse project team. And they're separate documents, because we tried it once in one document and it was just completely overwhelming when you got a 20-page thing to open up and you say, oh, good heavens. So the second document is in 3 sections. The first section is simple demographics. The second section is pretty much those checklists and anecdotes that we asked for, and satisfaction results. And then the last section is attachments that we'd like for you to send with the testimonials, with pictures if you choose. And then section 3 gives you an opportunity to share. We want to hear about what is wonderful in your greenhouse homes. Engage staff, elders, family members, and others to share stories that warm hearts and make your home unique to the people of your community. Get people really involved in the process. We have found that when people come together and reflect on the journey that has occurred up to the current point, there was a lot of aha moments. And people go, wow, we're really awesome. We've really come a long way. And we want to hear about that. You all know it's happening, and people want to share and be honored for the wonderful work that they're doing. So this is an example straight from the tool. This is the first section of the measurement tool, and you see just plain old demographic information, really simple. And then these are some outcome summaries, and I'm going to share with you in a moment what we saw with the pilot homes. And again, it's just fairly straightforward: occupancy, payer mix, retention rates, number of reportable complaints, and then we ask for a satisfaction summary, just a summary page of the satisfaction results for the surveys that you do within your communities. Whoop. Clinical outcomes. This gets a little sticky. because so many people collect information in so many different ways. So as we share this with you, we give you very explicit ways to report this that are very simple. We can't go in and get MDS data from an organization that has a legacy home and a greenhouse home. Combined, at this point, it's all reported together. So we want to see what's going on just within the greenhouse home. So we decided to look at 5 clinical indicators and 5 financial indicators. So falls with major injuries, stage 2 through 4 pressure ulcers, unplanned weight loss, UTIs, medication reduction, and acute hospital readmission rates. This is an example of how you report on the essential practice under real home. And you can see it says Shabazim dine with elders. People prefer coming to the table to dine, and you just check yes or no. Again, institutional cues eliminated, yes or no. And it's not a gotcha, it's not a report card, it's just for information. And we found that the people who participated in the pilot study said it really helped us see where we had opportunities to grow and where maybe we were just straying a little bit away from our original philosophy, and helped us come back together so we could see where we were going to go in the future. This is the essential practice of empowered staff. This talks about team meetings to help facilitate participative decision making. And again, it's just a simple checklist. All shifts are involved. Meetings are mandatory, yes or no. We're not saying one is right or other. Like I said, we're just gathering information. The frequency of learning circles. So learning circles are held, yes or no. This is essential practice, meaningful life. So elders have control over the rhythms of the daily life, such as waking, sleeping, meals, and meaningful engagement. So this is what we found. Now, this is 4 communities. This is a snapshot, okay? So it certainly is not any statistically significant information, but I think it's pretty cool. Just for looking at these 4 homes, the occupancy rate compared to the national average, 97.5% compared to 81%. Staff retention, 87% compared to 69%. Now this is for hands-on staff, Shabazim. It's not for all staff. Complaints, look at this. Not a single complaint in any, I mean these are reported complaints, okay. Acute hospital readmission. If Jay Moskowitz is in the building, I want you to look at that number. 7.5% compared to 20% is the national average. Stage 2 to 4 pressure ulcers, 1%. And this number just really, I was really dismayed when I saw this number as a national average, 14.4%, that many people are living in our communities with a stage 2 to 4 pressure ulcer. Unplanned weight loss, falls with major injury. So I'm really interested to see what kind of information comes in from the other 160. We have 170 now, so the next 166 to go. Okay, so where do we go from here? And if you'll bear with me, I need to find my notes because I cannot see that slide. Okay. I guess I'm going to have to move over here. But, hey, and I can walk at the same time. Okay, so it's an evolving process. We have some currently planned revisions based on the pilot study, and we will be continuing to change the tool as we hear from you, as we see the data that comes in. That will inform the revisions as we move forward. The dissemination timeline, when are you going to see it? Well, there'll be some information coming out the first quarter of 2015, and this will be staggered over a period of time, and I don't know exactly which homes are going to see it first, but we can't have 165 coming in at one time and trying to be analyzed at the same time. So if you really want to dig into it, just email Marla. And if you want to be first, we'll be glad to look at yours first. It'll be used by everyone to evaluate and revise practices. So you can understand and we can understand how you're doing and where you're going on your journey. And this is, I have these in quotes because these came from people who participated in the pilot study. It pushes us in a good way toward the next level. And we can hear and learn what others are doing. Here's that collaboration and that sharing coming in. It gives us a chance to celebrate. Tomorrow, I'm not sure of the time, but it certainly is in your program. There's going to be an opportunity for us to come together in, what are you calling this, networking, strategic networking sessions. And so we'll be at one of those, and we would really like to hear from the people that choose to come to that session about this process as we move forward and hear what your ideas are. This will help sustain the model. We heard a lot about sustainability today as we move forward and seek other opportunities. And so our focus is on keeping on model, perhaps evaluating and redefining that model as we move forward and see what's going on. Targeted education. As you complete these, as we evaluate what you send, where do you need education? And how perhaps does some of the greenhouse education need to change and grow to give you what you need? And then again, national comparison with these outcomes, financial and clinical outcomes compared to the nation. You know you're doing it. Now we're showing the numbers. It says, yeah, we are. So these are the communities I'd really like to thank for participating in the pilot study, the Eddy Village Green in New York, VMRC at Harrisonburg, Virginia, Buckner in Texas, two campuses in Texas, St. John's Home in Rochester, New York. And I believe I heard that y'all brought 13 people? That's cool. Oh, wait. So these are the people that are on the Peer Network Model Integrity Committee who put much thought and many long hours into bringing this process to fruition. So thank you all.